Hey guys, Grass here. Just doing a race on Path of Exile, killing Hillock right now. The race is the 90-minute Rogue Party race. So basically what this is Rogue Exiles on every single map that you go. So basically it will be only one Rogue Exile unless, it happens to spawn. You might be lucky to get two or so. This race is obviously 90 minutes. It's on hardcore, and I'm just showing you some of the highlights I did. I'm not the best in this game. I'm still learning how to play it, and I'm doing a bit of the race. You can also see my previous video, which I'll put an annotation on, in regards to explaining the season race and where I'm at the moment. I'm using a Marauder. I'm using that ground slam kind of system, and again I'm just learning how to play this particular game. If you notice later on, I do rip, so yeah, and it's pretty bad. I mean, it's just terrible on my end, to be honest. And again, it's a great way of playing this game because you get a lot of gear from these rogue exiles, and you learn a lot from the mechanisms in which the races actually work. So if you can notice, I've tried to put it in each area, and obviously there's some areas I did twice because obviously I died. And I highlight, kind of what you can kind of experience in 90 minutes. And the good thing is you get to a point where you do die, and you get a little bit angry, but you learn your lessons. And I was fortunate enough to die a little bit earlier, so I was able to do the race again and still recover to a point where I got level 16, which wasn't too bad in my case because I'm not the best kind of Path of Exile player. But this is just highlighting some of the stuff that you can do with Path of Exile. Good on grinding gear games for creating this aspect of, something extra than just grinding levels up to obviously level 100 and trying to get the best gear. This is kind of adds a different element. I know that this is not something new. It's something that's always available every season that they put. Just look at the calendar again. If you watch my previous video, it'll just show you how to actually access these races and see the calendar and what events are on and so on like that. So it is probably exciting because you get to a point where you got a lot of gear at the start, and because you're racing, you don't spend too much time going back to town and kind of customizing your gear, so you feel a little bit powerful, but also you still kind of feel a bit fragile because you could improve that gear if you actually went back into town. So that's the little things. So this one's got spec throw on you, so it's not too bad. I guess one of the weaknesses with ground slam is that it's not 100% accurate, so it doesn't hit everything. But the heavy strike, I believe, is really good. It's really powerful. It's just that I feel that playing the Marauder with the AoE kind of attack, it just feels that it's not reliable because it doesn't hit as accurate. And I know that there is on the passive skill tree that you can actually use a skill that will take your crit and all that kind of stuff, but in races you're most likely not going to get there. It's interesting with some of these exiles or the rogue exiles that they put. They're based on kind of builds that people, basically players, have put, and they've implemented it in the game, which has made it quite challenging, and it's kind of great. So if you get a chance of doing a race, do the particular ones where it's either exiles or rogue, something in the title, because it's something that's really fun, because it's much more challenging, but also quite rewarding in sense of that you get gear quite quickly. And that's what's quite fun about it, and so on. And again, it's 90 minutes of your time where if you die, you die. But it's again kind of seeing where you go in the ranks and so on like that. And for me, it's a great mechanism of kind of not being a hoarder with your stash and so on like that, because I'm kind of got that mentality, and it learns to make you think quicker and play a little bit quicker. So that's why I'm doing the races, is to kind of just improve my game style of being much more efficient in Path of Exile. Obviously because I've been playing Diablo 3. Again, Path of Exile is free to play, and you know, there's aspects of racing. There's P versus P, PV. Yeah, you know, so you can player versus player, which is another element as well. So, and then there's obviously end games with maps and so on like that. So this is just to highlight one of the races that I thought quite special. It's a little bit more than just you know, grinding and playing the game itself, and you know, going through cruel and merciless, and you know, the scepter of God and so on of that, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. So it is a free to play game, and I've mentioned this a few times, and I know that you can buy stash and all that kind of stuff, and you can contribute by buying those with real money to go back to grinding gear games so that they can develop more of this game. But again, for something that's free to play, they've spent a lot of time to kind of give that player motivation to keep playing. So, you know, whether you want to just play the game normally or play races, there's so many options that you can do, and this is what, you know, a game should move towards, especially in the long term of getting you back. And it's a game that is extremely like a big learning curve for me, because there's so many elements with the passive skill tree to the gems that you put in, and then obviously the classes that are available, whether you're going to go melee and range or so on like that. And then how you actually engage and tackle enemies. So this guy over here is basically one of the area bosses. And again, another dynamic through patch upgrades over the time with Path of Exile is that, you know, they've included more content, and it's not just, you know, more is better. They've actually implemented it to make it much more challenging for players and so on like that. Which is good, because sometimes some games forget that, you know, people do want challenges, as opposed to, I'm just going to make it easy, and you kind of just, you know, hack and slash throughout the whole game. Again, this guy's another area boss, kind of like semi-boss. I didn't put Kadala because I didn't actually kill Kadala, because it's a waste of time. And these are the elements of, you have to think strategy. Is it worth actually spending that time to kill or go to certain areas just because of the race and so on? Because in some cases it's not worth it, because if you progress further, especially if you go to Act 2, you can get more experience, and the whole rank is based on what level you get and what your experience is, and that's how they base where you go on the ladder and so on like that. So here's the shameful moment right now. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I wasn't too happy on how I tackled it. I should have never engaged this guy with the equipment that I had, but you know, yeah, yeah, and I can't blame anything else but myself. So that's what was hilarious. This is obviously Brutus. Again, there's some races based on getting to Brutus quickly, and instead of actually based on experience and where you go in the rank's based on time and how quick it took you to get to Brutus. And then also there's other ones with the Act 1 boss and so on like that. So there's more elements in racing than just, you know, based on experience and so on like that. Obviously I didn't have the gear because this was my second run. I did a change, bought some stuff, and then went back and killed Brutus in this particular case. So again, I'm not really going into my build or anything because I'm not that good at the particular game, as I've probably mentioned a few times, but it is an extreme learning curve, and I think jumping into races straight away, unless you kind of know a bit, you're going to struggle. But it's quite fun, and it's quite hilarious, because I can look back and laugh at myself, because there's some things that I do completely wrong, especially in kind of time management and efficiency. I'm learning a lot in regards to this aspects where I don't move into different areas. Obviously I don't have the Quicksilver to run. I don't think it's worth the Quicksilver to get, but certain aspects of, I still got that safety net of I like to wear my armor on, and even though you shouldn't because it makes you run faster, I feel more fragile and so on. So at early stages, I actually lose movement speed by putting a chest plate or something like that, which can hinder my movement speed. And this is all about getting to higher maps because you're always going to be down a few levels and so on like that. And look at the gear that I'm getting. I mean, it's amazing. Here's a little trick that if you don't know, if you use those 3 items, it actually gives you a fizz base on the roll, and that can actually strengthen your weapons and so on. I know that's quick, you can pause and see the items and so on like that, but I was in a race and I got to do it quickly. I also was fortunate in this case to buy it off the vendor and have a 2-link red, so that later on I can put the added fire on there and so on like that. So there's a certain things, and as you can see in my inventory, there's the ring that's going to give me cold resist for the boss, Act 1 boss. So there's aspects of tackling things, but I'm not going to really go to in it. Again, this is kind of one of those map semi-bosses here, so it's not an Exile. And again, you've got to kind of look at making sure where you hit certain points that you do change your gear, because you can't just keep on hacking enemies because you're just going to die, because they're going to deal more damage to you, especially when you're lower gear. This guy was difficult, this ground slam guy with attack speed. Yeah, even though I made it look easy, that guy was quite difficult, and in all honesty, I don't know why. I don't know, I'm very persistent sometimes. I should skip some content, but I do tend to tackle or put myself in dangerous situations, which I shouldn't. And they're the kind of things that you learn from Path of Exile. If you notice things that I'm doing wrong, don't troll. Just put some comments in, and it's good to get some constructive feedback. In all honesty, again, I'm no expert at it, and I'm not saying it. I'm just giving an experience of my point of view in regards to Path of Exile, and how you can get quite fun experience from doing different things that Grinding Gear Games has put into this game. Obviously, this is the Act 1 boss. She's got 2 forms, and she's a kind of cold damage. So if you don't have cold resist, you're going to pretty much die. I used heavy strike, and I didn't actually change my gem from ground slam to have the added fire. So that was a bit of a newbie thing that I did. But I felt quite comfortable in this particular case of tackling this boss. Again, I took a little bit of extra precautions because I died already, and I didn't want to rip again, and I was also running out of time. And again, this is the second form of the boss, and she, like the water that comes up, that can kind of slow you down and freeze you as well. So they're the little aspects of knowing kind of what to do and so on. And as you can see, sometimes they go into chat and they do the /OOS out of sync, because that's kind of sometimes what you get when you're doing races, because that server's getting a little bit of latency. And again, I do have cable internet, so it could be kind of a little bit on both ends as well. So it just adds to the excitement that you're going to rip. And I did, obviously, in this race. Which is hilarious. Again, another aspect of this game is these boxes, and in this case, this box had a rogue exile. So on this map, I actually had 2 rogue exiles, which was kind of double the fun. And again, there's shrines that give you kind of elements and so on. So there's also other content that's been added over the time that kind of makes this game either much more challenging or quite well thought through your route that you're going to do. So it's quite good. This moment, I didn't even actually realize that the rogue was here until I was going, what's hitting me to lose so much damage, and then I realized where the particular guy was, and he had like some shield charge, I believe it is. And that wasn't too bad. And so I'm pretty much coming to the end of the map, and the time's running out, as you can probably see, and that's it, we're done. I reached level 16, everything freezes. That's kind of the way in which I went with the passive tree, obviously level 16. And then I just go into showing you the event and how I do go in my rank. So basically, as you can see, it's about 231. I go into my seasons, and you can see that I'm on now 73 points, which I got 4 points. Again, dying or ripping early on kind of hindered my progression in this particular event, but again, that was purely my own fault. And again, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like, and play Path of Exile. Thanks, guys.